If you're non-technical and you're looking to upskill in AI this year, then this video is absolutely for you. My name's Steph, and I recently made the transition from big law into legal tech. And I did that by upskilling in AI. And of course, I documented my systems of doing so that I could share them with you. So if that's the type of content that you're looking for, then please do make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get into how you can upskill in AI this year. So if you know me well, you know that I do love a rule of three. And today I am going to be sharing with you 3 things that I did to upskill in AI. And I'm going to be using the analogy of a pyramid to share these 3 things with you. So bear with me. We're going to start with the base of our pyramid, right? And the base is the foundation. And the foundation of you upskilling in anything, but particularly upskilling with AI, is making sure that you've got the right knowledge. Now, me personally, the way I did that is that I did 3 different courses. The first course I've done a whole video about. I did an Oracle University Foundations of AI course. I thought it was really, really good. It took me about 5 hours to do it. It was completely free and it only had 8 modules. The first 5 were all very much foundations of AI, so understanding machine learning, AI, generative AI, all of those sorts of things. And then the final 3 modules were Oracle specific. So I guess if you're not really using the Oracle platform, the final 3 modules are not something you need to focus on as much. But overall, I did find that course to be very, very helpful for me for giving me that initial foundational understanding. After that, I also did a Google course. So I did a prompting course on Google. And then I also did a Microsoft course and I did an AI ethics and responsibility course on Microsoft. All of these courses are stuff that you can see on my LinkedIn. I've uploaded all of the kind of like certifications, the links are there. But I would just say that at the stage that we're in right now with generative AI, you can literally Google, you could go on Coursera, you could go on LinkedIn Learning. There's so many different ways that you can find courses that are probably for free or for a very low fee if you do want to pay for the certification, and you can learn and build your foundational knowledge in that way. So I would definitely encourage you to take the first step and find a couple of courses that can help give you a good base of information. I've said the ones that I use, so I would definitely recommend the ones that I used. But if you need to look at other specific things within generative AI and within AI, then absolutely go and find those courses and do those as well, because you do need that foundational knowledge. So that was the first element for me, and that made up the base of my pyramid. The next step of the pyramid was actually getting started with the building. And this is the part that I personally have found the most fun, because I really learn by doing. So being able to just put into practice all of the things that I learned from the various different courses that I just mentioned, that has been amazing for me. And again, to give you practical tips and practical advice, I'm going to share with you the actual tools that I have been using to build out things. So one of the first tools I started using was, as I'm sure many of you know, ChatGPT. For a lot of people, ChatGPT was probably the first kind of entrance point that you had into generative AI. So I have used ChatGPT personally to kind of build my own custom GPTs, to kind of use it for my own personal knowledge and my own personal upskilling. I've spoken on LinkedIn about the learnings that I'm doing with quantum computing, which has been really fun. Actually, on that topic, this is an aside, I wasn't going to include this in the video, but I'm feeling very giving today. IBM has this really cool quantum computing link to their website that you can use to go and play around with some quantum computing. So I will definitely share that down below, but that was really interesting to play with as well. So ChatGPT is obviously something I've been using, but I would say that was probably my entrance point. That was probably the first thing I used. I am going to be honest here and say that I have moved away from ChatGPT a little bit. Not because ChatGPT is bad, I will say that, purely just because with the different things that I do, I found that some other tools are literally just better for me. So one example that I can give you is through Doceo, my social enterprise. If you're unaware, I run a social enterprise that helps 14 to 18-year-olds gain employability skills, and everything myself and my co-founder does with Doceo is housed in Google. So it kind of just made sense to move to Gemini and the general Google AI workspace. So using Notebook LM, using Banana Pro, using Gemini, like I mentioned, and creating gems, which are the equivalent of GPTs within the Gemini workspace. So I found myself using that a lot more frequently, and I've found that it's been very easy for me to take what I learned from initially using ChatGPT and translate that into using the Google workspace. So I would definitely say that if you're already using one tool, but you find that you have to move to another tool, don't be worried or think that there's going to be a steep learning curve or anything like that. I found everything to be very translatable. So for me, it's actually been a very easy transition and an easy change. The third tool that I would definitely recommend using to get started with building is a tool called Replit. If you're watching this video, you might be someone who's already kind of getting interested in the AI space. So you might have heard of a term called vibe coding. And vibe coding is an AI-driven software development method where you describe what you want in plain English, aka natural language, to an AI model, which then generates the actual code for you, letting you focus on the vibe or outcome rather than manual coding. So the idea is that you don't have to have the technical skills to be able to build something. You can just describe what it is that you want to build, and the tool will be able to start building at least an MVP for you, a minimum viable product. It depends on the complexity of what it is that you have thought of in your head. So it might be that you then need to kind of engage a software engineer or something like that to actually help with the coding element. Or you might find that the tool is able to build out the idea that you had in your head. Either way, vibe coding is a great way to build upon your AI upskilling. And I would definitely encourage you to get started with some vibe coding if you haven't already. Some easy wins there for you to think about is, what is a task or a workflow that you are constantly doing? And how could you maybe think about creating a tool to make that easier for yourself? I'll again go back to Doceo as an example. One of the things that I do a lot with Doceo is the grant funding. So I write all the grant bids, I research which grants we'd be eligible to apply for. And I found that because I have a full-time job and I run this social enterprise alongside my full-time role, I just didn't have the time to be spending sometimes hours, if I'm being honest, going through different funders' websites to see whether Doceo would be eligible under the legal structure that we had, whether our governance practices would make us eligible, whether the funder would have funding priorities that aligned with Doceo's projects that we were doing for the particular year. That is something that takes a lot of time. So I just vibe coded a tool that helps me drop a link straight into that tool, and then it runs that analysis for me, and it tells me whether Doceo would be eligible and whether it's worth me actually applying. It gives me a rated score so I know whether it's worth me applying or not. And then it also has a look in the database that I have, because I have a good filing system. You know, I love productivity. So it looks at the database that I have for existing applications that I've written, and it tells me whether I've written an application that is similar to this new opportunity that I found. That has saved so much time for me and made it so much easier for me to find funding opportunities for Doceo. That was just something that I thought to myself. I literally remember having this thought in July last year when I said, oh my gosh, there is so many funding applications I need to write, and I do not have the time to do all of them because I'm spending so much time doing research, but I have so many other things to do. Like it was just a bugbear for me, and then I vibe coded a tool that helped me fix it, and now it's a lot easier for me to do that process. And it's a tool that I iterate over time, of course, and I'm more than happy to do a video on this if you'd like to learn more about that. But that's just an example of how you can get stuck in with the building process, and that's really going to exponentially increase how you upskill with AI. So I mentioned at the top of this video that this is going to be in 3 parts, and we've already done 2 of them. So the first part, by way of reminder, was making sure that you have that strong knowledge foundation. You have to do the academic theory. There's no escaping it. But then you get to build on top of that and actually start creating tools that can be useful for you and possibly useful for others, because that's the only way that you can make sure you cement your learnings. The final step for me is one of my favorites because it actually creates a feedback loop for you. And the final step is you sharing what it is that you've learned. Now, there are different ways you can decide to do it. I decide to make videos like the one I'm making today, or I post on LinkedIn. Many of you might have seen my LinkedIn profile and some of the AI things that I write there. You can decide to share it with your friends or family, or keep it offline if you prefer, but sharing is important. And for me, that sharing creates a feedback loop, because when you do share, you attract other people who are in that space, and they will also start sharing with you. And that can lead to new things that you might decide, oh, actually, I need to create a foundational knowledge base for this new thing that I've heard about that somebody else shared. And then you start the process all over again, and you start to build on that thing that you have just gained new knowledge on. And then you share again, and the loop starts again. So that is my 3-step process to how you can upskill with AI in 2026. I've linked all the courses that I mentioned down below. And if you would like me to do a more detailed video on the tool that I mentioned I created for Doceo for grants, then please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that and break down how I actually went about creating that. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back again soon with another video.